Hey everyone, so Randolph Engineering and American Optical, two very well-known, kind of going head-to-head these days. One around 200 years old, American Optical, and one a little bit newer. I guess this is all kind of relative because Randolph has still been around for almost 50 years as well. So needless to say, these guys have been making sunglasses a long time. But let's dive in and see what some of the differences are in their two direct models. So, thanks to a wonderful follower, I have my hands on the two Randolphs that compete directly to the two of American Optical's frames. The Saratoga's not here, we've got that of course, but it is not one that we can compare directly. I don't believe Randolph has a model to compete with that. Maybe yet, maybe ever. I don't know, that's not my thing. Anyways, so what we're going to talk about, we're going to start with the true classic, the Pilot. The Pilot from American Optical and the Archer, Randolph, help, Aviator. I can't think or talk today. So the Aviator and the Pilot, these are the two that are going to be the very traditional styled Pilot's sunglasses. Now I've got different lenses in these two. I'm not going to get into the optics side of it. They're both excellent. You're not going to go wrong optically with either one, whether you're going with their nylon or their nylon or their glass or their glass. They're all A1. It's all great. Don't worry about that. So what we're going to focus on is the actual frame construction, and you'll see both of these are rather nice. I mean, there's not anything that really makes one stand out of the other. At a glance, they've got very nice attention to the details, the nice little logo on the American Optical here. Of course, the bayonet style temple they both feature. And one thing that I was pointed out, these tortoise ones are a nice little touch on some of the Randolph models. Maybe we'll see AO do that, you know, since they've been recently changed hands, I guess you could say. They're making some updates, they're making some tweaks to the frames, and that's why I wanted to kind of come back and compare these two, because I have not seen a comparison done on Randolph and AO with the new version of the American Optical frames. These guys, right off, I'm still gonna give the nod to Randolph. These are incredibly well constructed, unbelievable attention to detail. They use a little bit beefier materials. Things like the hinge are just ever so slightly thicker. You can tell it's a little bit beefier than what the model is on American Optical. Now that's not to say the American Optical one is bad. It's not. Neither one of these is bad. You're not gonna just tear them up in normal use, so I'll tell you that much. It's just that when we're comparing two very well made frames, you have to get into the minute details, or you know, it really doesn't make a difference. They both use monoblock hinges, easy to work on, easy to work with, makes the frames a little bit lighter as well, and also you don't get kind of the wart on the side of the lens where that mounts up for the Eyewear, because it actually seats down in that hinge. Now you'll see one of my little complaints with the AO here, and that is where the hinge mounts to that Eyewear. It's set out a little bit, so it doesn't fully cover that separation, and honestly that separation's not really that clean or neatly done in my opinion. The second difference here, you'll see the solder joints. They're still good, they're still well done. I don't see, you know, a lot of splatter, a lot of stuff we see on the super cheap frames, and that's nice. I just think Randolph goes a little bit further on cleaning those up a little bit better. So for the Randolph side, you'll see what I mean. It just cleans up a little bit nicer. It's a little more uniform on both sides. And you can see, especially in that bridge, where it really is cleaned out all the way down to the bottom. And they do use a little bit different bridge style. I will say the lower bridge on the AO is a little bit thicker, so, you know, they both kind of have their thing. As far as weight, the nylon lens frame in the Randolphs and the nylon lens frame in the American Opticals are going to weigh about the same. They're within a gram of each other, so no perceivable difference there. The glass lens is kind of the same ballpark. I imagine they're using a similar or the same manufacturer for those. Who knows? But again, overall, so on these, the overall fit and finish is just a teensy bit higher on the Randolphs versus the American Opticals. I think the feel on the face is pretty close to the same. You can just tell in the overall details and finishing, these are held to a little bit higher standard than what you get with these. Now, of course, that comes with a price difference. The American Optical frames are going to run from $179 up to $244. That's going to be the nylon non-polarized all the way up to the glass polarized. And that's where that difference comes in. The temple, whether you go with the bayonet or the hook, standard hockey temple, is not going to make a difference in price. So then this guy is going to run about $239 to $299, I believe, depending on the lens options and the finish you go with. Now, the one thing I'll really give Randolph here is they do have that higher level finish. You can go with the premium metals. You got the 23 karat gold, the 18 karat white gold, you know, stuff you really see on luxury frames. And I am not seeing that coming out from AO. Maybe they will eventually. I don't expect to see it because it doesn't really fit with their model. Maybe I'm wrong, we'll see. The Saratoga, incredible frame, so we'll see. Then we have the General, the Aviator, the big master of all time. We have this guy with the brown lenses and this guy with the brown lenses. So this one, we can compare a little bit. I will say AO's is more of a contrast brown. This is just that more neutral brown, so there is some difference there. Whether you like the high contrast or not could be a deciding factor on that. That's the only reason I very briefly mentioned the lenses. I said I wasn't going to get on optics, and I'm not. So between these two, you'll see the AO, the bridge mounts a little bit lower in their General versus the Concorde, where it is a little bit higher. Overall size between these two is actually really close, which I found surprising because this is the largest model of the Concorde versus this is not quite. Actually, I think this was the largest model of these, but the lens size is about 3 millimeters smaller, but the overall frame width is essentially the same. So that was a surprise to me, and it just was. Now, one thing I think is a little bit strange, on the American Optical frame, we don't have the option for the bayonets versus the pilots, where we have the option for the bayonets or the hockey or nylon or polar. All the options on these, only some of them on these. Still good frames. You're going to find the same thing on the General that we just talked about versus the Concorde versus the pilot shapes back here. So the overall fit and finish is just a teeny tiny bit better on the Randolph. Now, if that's worth it to you, I would say it is to me, but I find a lot of the times it's a brand loyal thing between these two. Some people just prefer AO and their 200-year heritage, and some people prefer Randolph, and sometimes they will not go between any other brands, and sometimes they're addicts and will go between all of the other brands. So it just kind of depends. But you'll see on this one, it's a little bit easier to tell. The hinge is just a teeny tiny bit beefier on the Randolph. And again, the same thing you're going to find on the back side, and I'll tell you every single time, the details are on the back of the frame. So when you get over here, you'll see on the General, just like I was talking about on the other frame, is the hinge does not seat all the way up against the lenses, and the overall finish there just leaves a little bit to be desired. Again, not bad on either one. I do quite well with these guys. I don't have Randolph, so that's why a friend sent them, and that's why it works the way that it does. Now, I'm not biased to either one of these as far as what you wear and love. Obviously, I carry the American Optical here, so if you're looking for those, I would love if you buy them from me, because that's always wonderful. Helps maintain the videos, helps keep this place open, which is my dreams continuing on, and I do love that very much. So anyways, that's the end of that. Between these two, even though I don't have them here and I don't sell them, I still have to give the hand to Randolph. I'll put links down below for the AOs from me if that's the one you're interested in. If you're a guy that has to have the absolute top quality and everything, I'm maybe one of those a little bit, just a little bit. If you guys have been here for long, you already know that. But I will put the link for Randolph down below and eat my hat, because I said I did not think that there was that much of a difference anymore since AO had been redone, and there is still a difference. Anyways, if this video helped you out, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of it, anything you'd like to see improved or compared, because apparently I can get my hands on anything these days. I will catch you next time.